unity, you know, it's so important right now because it's like we need to be unified together across denominational lines, across any kind of prejudice or separation that the enemy keeps trying to put on the body of Christ. And, you know, in just in our area, what I'm seeing personally is a group or a remnant of people coming together that are willing to throw off any kind of boundary, anything that could be hindering or preventing them from saying yes, and just seeing what God has in it and coming together. And there's so much that's breaking out and breaking forth from it that God is doing because of the unification that's coming together. Where we're able to move and help others, like in spiritual warfare and different things, because, you know, and having churches say, okay, we may not understand this, but we're ready and we're willing and we're able to embrace it. And we don't care if you're from another church, we would like you to help us grow in this area. So I'm starting to see that, which is so encouraging for the body as a whole. But I believe you're going to continue to see unlikely partnerships, unlikely unions come together in business, in ministry, in different facets, because it's kingdom connections. God is connecting people by the Spirit, and he's putting them together. They're divine alignments that are happening. And so I'm seeing that just in ministry. And what's really been provoking me lately is the fact that God is bringing together unlikely pairs as far as marriage covenant unions as a whole. And God started unpacking this even more for me lately, showing me that, you know how Satan can't really stop what God's going to do, but he likes to derail it and delay it and try to get you off
or
course.
give counterfeits, you know, like,
So as I was thinking about how it's so cool, because Sean Bowles actually came out with a dream the other day, and he said that he saw marriage unions happening in 2023, and these were going to be some of the most anointed marriages coming together, that God is bringing these divine alignments. And that was totally in line with what he'd been showing me, is that you're going to see people come together. You're like, wow, I never would have put those together, but I could see why God did. Because they're coming together not for the simple fact of being married. There's a purpose God is doing within the unions in the earth. One, they're going to bring forth children that are like this alpha generation. They're going to be kingdom children that are going to break barriers. They're going to move in the ways of the Lord. They're going to have, you know, their parents are already generational curse breakers, growing up in the ways of the Lord. So when these kids get raised, they're going to be kingdom warriors. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing that, but I'm also seeing like so many salvations connected to the people that are coming together. Like, wow, I didn't know that person would have loved Jesus, but wow, they're doing something together for the kingdom. And like I said, the unlikely people you're not going to see coming in this harvest are actually going to be brought together too in union to change communities, to impact, because God is doing a restoration on families. Because if you think about it, the enemy has tried so hard to break down the family unit. And if you could tear down the family, you could tear down the country, you can tear down the community, you can tear everything down, right? And so he attacks the marriages. And it's just that representation of Christ and his bride, you know? So he's after it. He's going to fight it tooth and nail. And so what God was showing me is, I think about the plot of the enemy. Like, you know how in the world the apps came out, like hookup apps for fornication and for adultery to happen. You know, you think of Tinder and this whole wave that happened. So if God is bringing together and restoring families because he's bringing a change in the earth, right? Think about the resistance of what the enemy did to play into the evil desires, especially if people hadn't been saved or sanctified in this area. Because we know the perversion is in the spirit, and that is happening like heavily right now throughout arts, entertainment, and media, and the porn and everything. They're playing into all that to get the whole mindset confused in you know, in people. So then you bring in Tinder, you bring in these apps, so people are then thinking so lightly of unions. You have an attack on marriage. It's not important. It's just a paper. You know, you have all of these things being fed, which is like a total counter to what God is getting ready to do, so that people could get delayed, derailed, more trauma, more pain, so that they couldn't get into position. But I do believe there's a remnant of people who have been really going through deliverance, healing. They've been, like you said, forerunners positioned. Like they've really been committed to the process because they're being readied for the marriage covenant and the partnership that's happening for this move of God that's going to happen in the earth. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
and it goes back to the provoking people to jealousy. There's favor and provision on the unions that are coming together, because what God is going to do is show the restoration of marriage and what a relationship under him looks like. And those that are out there, just sad and like not, having any kind of blessing in this area, are going to be able to look to the light of what God is actually doing, and then, want to get in line with what he
Yeah.
has for them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So I see that happening,
Yeah.